nor anybody
Yeah.
else.
Yeah. But can
Or
you
the
imagine?
other
I'm
alternative,
sorry, let me
Marcia.
let you finish. Go ahead. I'm
No,
sorry. I
you
cut
go
you.
ahead. You go ahead. 'Cause I can put the R. You
No,
go
no,
ahead.
no. Let me let him
Can
because
you?
you said or. So
Or
complete
the
your
other point is that they didn't read it. So, and very few spoke to it in Parliament. So they probably didn't know what the content was. And I asked the Attorney General, based on the Prime Minister needing to consult you know, weren't you aware of the contents of this bill? Go ahead, Marcia.
yeah. I just got I don't know if Dave is able to put it up right now. But Mr. One of the I consulted with Mr. Hal Gollop, who you see on the screen right now, and he is a senior lawyer in Barbados. And normally he doesn't comment on anything on the show per se, but I think lawyers are very upset tonight, very upset with what is happening. And I want to just read to you what he says. You want to read? Read, Miss McClean.
Okay, it says it is another case of ineptitude. A bill coming to Parliament has to be accompanied by a certificate. That's what I described from the AG as to its readiness for debate. The fact that they've had to retract and correct glaring mistakes and weaknesses with such regularity must not be seen as an apologetic justification based on the spurious reason of listening to the public and acting accordingly. It is a case of poor administration and bad governance. Please note, they have to explain why they continue to get it wrong when there is that need for certificate. They are always engaged in ex post facto action. And this is an excellent capturing of the points that I'm trying to make. The certificate from the AG, from the content in terms of the coverage of the issues that are to be regulated, to be addressed by the law, down to grammatical errors, because they were correcting some of the bill. The time was replete with errors of that type. Now, I don't you've been a teacher, Marcia. I don't know how you operated, but I marked scripts for many years. And anybody who would have sat in one of my classes and for whom I would have marked a script would tell you that their grammatical errors were picked up.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't just read it and say, well, John Brown or Mary Smith spelled this wrong, or their agreements are off, you know, their use of the verb, the tenses or whatever. I corrected those things because you are communicating with me
Right.
in English and in words. So when these things come, and I can tell you again from my experience, when we received drafts of bills and there were some of those errors, we pointed them out. I
Mm-hmm.
had one colleague in particular, and I can call her name, Dr. Bayasuku, was very able to pick up those kinds of errors. If you wanted a document proofread, she could do it, and she would hardly ever miss an error, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't understand the explanation, but I would say this and then hear what your response is. I have always heard the expression, to explain is to expose.
It's coming. But let me get ready, Miss McClean. I know you have a comment, and then a quick comment. I'm going to bring in Mr. Greenwich.
No, I just very quickly wanted to remind the Prime Minister. In fact, yesterday a clip was played from one of her marches. And we could always go back and talk, but I wouldn't delay further. But the Prime Minister used every opportunity to, when she wasn't demonstrating, she was using social media. So, the Prime Minister has no moral authority to talk about marches. She needs to listen and understand why people are doing it. It's not for frivolous purposes, but bringing Mr. Greenwich, I'm sure he has a lot that he can
Yeah.
share, having listened to the Prime Minister, Greenwich, Corey Greenwich. And I'm smiling because I've listened to this young man. Sorry, you're a young man when you consider my age, and it's pleased my heart. But so there are a couple of comments, and I want to thank you for your contribution on this show, because as I listened to some of what the Prime Minister said, I was convinced that she was pushed to come to the people by the kind of analysis that you brought to support what Mr. Thorne said in Parliament. I happen to listen to Parliament most days, and I listen to the Attorney General. And so, as you explained, that's important. Now, I say that against the background of what you were saying, the conversation and the comments about party politics. And while I would say party politics is a reality, there is significant room for voters and constituents to push for quality candidates who are, in fact, what I would describe as assets or pluses for their respective parties. And so with that, I welcome you as a candidate.
Thank you so much.
And Marcia will tell you that I made a pledge on this program the night we heard Mr. Thorne cross the floor. And I will make a similar pledge to you. Whatever I can do to assist you in furthering your willingness to support Barbadians, and I wouldn't say your political ambitions, because people's political ambitions may have nothing to do with the people, but your demonstrated interest in supporting the people, I would do that. Having said that, the Prime Minister made reference to two pieces of legislation, the immigration bill and the citizenship bill, I think. And I am now going to step in front of Marcia and say, I hope you will come back on this show and help us to walk through that. Because the reality is we have been subjected to very superficial discussions and debates prior to the crossing of the floor, Mr. Thorne. I made that point earlier tonight. And so for the first time, Barbadians are pushed through this program, and in more recent times with the work of Mr. Thorne and support of persons like yourself, people have started to seriously interrogate legislation. And so I trust that we will have an opportunity to engage you in relation to an examination of that legislation. The questions I might ask you, I try not to speak politics on Marcia's show, partisan politics.
We're not gonna go into that.
Yeah, the LP, not even the LP politics. Everybody knows where I stand, and I welcome you to the party. I like how you have sought to be objective and factual, and I think that will take you a long way within the context of all people have seen politics descend to, and it's really important that we have persons who can lift politics back to a level that it needs to be. Barbados, in another context, I have a friend who always says, we can do better. And we really can do a lot better. I am disappointed in a lot of what I see on many fronts. And it is voices like yours that I trust will take us back to a place where, as Barbadians, we can sit here in Barbados and be proud of our politicians. I had to go on a rant on this show the other night with Marcia when some young person was warned that I'm a politician. So I had to tell Marcia, or through the show, tell the young person there's absolutely nothing wrong with being a politician. That there are politicians and politicians. And I predict that you will be in the category of those we are proud of. So, Marcia, let me stop. And there were no specific questions. I would say this. Having had the experience of seeing, because prior to going in relation to the cybercrime bill, I don't think that anybody in the government would have expected the persons who went to have gone and done that. First thing. Second thing, if you recall, the initial reaction was almost to trivialize the decision to go. But then they saw the process play out. And so I think having experienced that situation, and the quality of representation of the interests of the people who were, the pleading of the cause or the case or whatever you want to put it, having gone through that and seen it, because, this was a group of young people for the most part. And you will recall the entire thing. So I think that the experience of having to deal with a group of people who they were initially dismissing made a serious case before the court and so on, would have prompted them to recognize that it could happen again, and that people had stated that that would have been an obvious way to go. So I think, in a sense, it had some impact on the reaction. But even before that, I think that in the face of the evidence, government had egg on its face. Simple, pure and simple. There was egg on its face. I mean, how can an attorney general who supposedly did what he was supposed to do, how could he not know what was in there? And if he knew what was in there, how can you be so wrong? I'm trying to be diplomatic. Like, I used to think I was diplomatic, but no, I think our reason, I understand and I appreciate Corey, if you don't mind me calling you that.
Most definitely. Corey's perfect.
His position and his reason is objective and so on. Nobody can accuse him of being, partisan or less than objective, subjective, or whatever the case may be. But I cannot understand. I mean, I can only interpret. Let me put it this way. And I am at the stage where, having retired now, I can, I have earned the right to say what I want to say without blaming anybody. When you reach my age, you earn that right. But I mean, I just think that in the case of the Attorney General and the Minister of Home Affairs, they did not anticipate the kind of scrutiny that was there. And so their behavior was typical of what we have been seeing in Parliament for the last several years. You gloss over this, you say a few things, you're appealing to the gallery being, you figured there are 29 of you, so you have people who frankly are not concerned about the substance. And this is where the whole notion of party politics comes in. And so I support these guys, so whatever they say, it goes. The other thing is that we also know, and this has been the case, and this is why it is important that the work be done before, that once you go to Parliament, except in something that, and in this case, they can pass anything, whether it requires a 2/3 majority, such as a constitutional change, or a simple majority, they can pass it. But I always remember being told by the Prime Minister that when we go to Parliament, there were a couple of things he said, and he always insisted on this. When we come to Cabinet and we sign off on a bill to go to Parliament, or a resolution, his expectation, and by extension the expectation of Cabinet, was that it was fit and proper. And short of maybe some minor oversight, we should not be afraid to push for it and do what we had to do. What we are seeing now, and there have been multiple instances of this, where legislation has had to be halted or whatever, or later, amendments have to come, not simply because significant changes have occurred in the environment or whatever, but it was bad drafting. And the truth is, if you talk to people, there have been instances where there's been pressure to get a bill written, and probably not adequate drafting instructions given. And so you get that, and in other words, there's been this one step forward, two step back situation, pull back situation, which frankly has not been good. It's poor governance, and that is the reality. And my concern is, with so many eyes and so many legal eyes in the current administration, in the Cabinet, That is not acceptable. You know, that is not acceptable at all. It is, you know,